More moves are coming for the Los Angeles Lakers as following what has been a crazy last 24 hours of transactions for this team. A new report has dropped revealing that more moves are on the horizon surrounding one particular former All-Star. We're going to break down exactly who that is and discuss what this means going forward following what has been a hectic last couple of days with, of course, the acquisition of Marcus Smart and waiving both Shake Milton and, unfortunately, Jordan Goodwin. Ton to go over today, folks, as well as a few other updates. But before we get into it all, if you're a part of the percentage or aren't subscribed to the channel, you guys have been absolute beasts with the support. So make sure to hit that subscribe button. And thank you guys again for your continued support over here as we're on the road to the big goal of 30,000 subscribers and the smaller goal for now of 24,000. Folks, a lot to go over today. And obviously, the Lakers made a bunch of moves over the last couple days and over the weekend. They signed Marcus Smart. They, of course, well, at least the intent is to sign Marcus Smart, and it's going to happen probably today or tomorrow. Jordan Goodwin, he has been waived. Shake Milton has been waived, and there's a lot of moving pieces right now. And despite popular belief, rather, more moves are on the horizon for this Lakers team. I want to dive into a report that dropped early this morning into late last night surrounding Jrue Holiday. As a report has come out that Jrue Holiday is a name to monitor for the Lakers. And I'm going to dive into the full report and things like that. But obviously, the Lakers, just to backtrack a bit, surrounding Jordan Goodwin, they could have either made a trade, trading some of their big salary in order to open up the biannual exception, and they could have kept Jordan Goodwin, but they decided to waive Goodwin, which led a lot of people to think that that means that a trade is not going to happen, and that just isn't the case. They still have Dalton Knecht. They still have all of their assets that they had at the start of the offseason. They haven't had to give up a single one, and a trade is still possible here. And it basically goes on to say that the Lakers could look to take another step forward by snagging a championship caliber guard. One can safely assume the Lakers are done making moves for the summer, but of course you could also say that they aren't done making moves as they still need a true 3-and-D guard. And per Grant Afseth of course, Fast Break Journal, the Portland Trailblazers' Jrue Holiday is another veteran guard known for his defense and is a name to monitor as far as LA is concerned. And of course, there is a chance that the Lakers just stand pat now with the way the team is. But more rumblings are starting to, come up that, let's not forget, they still have their 2031 first-round pick. They now have a 2032 second-round pick they can access. They have Dalton Knecht, Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber. They have so much salary remaining. I don't think that Rob Pelinka is going to be done. I think he's going to keep trying to make moves. And maybe they didn't get a move done yesterday because they were trying to just, reports came out that basically they didn't want to attach assets. But if they're going to be giving up first-round picks and things like that with Dalton Knecht, you can still get a very solid player, and multiple sources have said that Jrue Holiday is a name to monitor as a target of the Lakers. That's not to say active conversations are taking place, but his name continues to surface in NBA circles as the team evaluates options to add more talent around LeBron James and Luka Doncic. Other teams are monitoring the situation, though the Lakers are widely viewed as one of the most natural fits if Portland explores a deal. Of course, Portland made a deal trading Anthony Simons straight up for Jrue Holiday, and ultimately, the real question mark is, how do they view the Portland Trail Blazers, Jrue Holiday's fit? Of course, do they want to keep him on the team, use him as a veteran leader, all these different things? Or if you're the Lakers, do you try to persuade them with a very, very strong offer? Because he is an elite defender, despite his age, still very, very good, and would fit in this team very well. Again, you can see here some of his accolades. Been named to one of the NBA's all-defensive teams 6 times in the last 16 seasons. But of course, landing him will be difficult. And let's dive into some of the, restrictions with landing him or the complications. He'll make $32.4 million this upcoming season. Of course, he would be expensive. And he has 3 years left on his deal with a player option. So if you're the Lakers, you would have to evaluate internally. He has 3 more years left on his deal. He'll be 35 years old, or 38 years old, rather, once the contract expires, 35 at the moment. Is that going to be worth it? Of course, the answer is yes, if he would help them win a championship, and I do think he would because of the fact that he won it, 2 years ago with the Boston Celtics, still an elite defender, all these different things. But, for a guy that has been around the NBA for a while, I think it makes a lot of sense, especially if Portland does explore a contract, because he's a very good defender. He's a very good shooter as well, underrated. We look at his three-point percentage, shoots above average on his career at 37%. Obviously had a bit of an offensive, fall off since he joined Boston, but that's because of the fact that they have a lot more offensive firepower over there between Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, all those guys. But at the end of the day, he would be a fantastic fit for this team. Last year with the Boston Celtics, finished the season averaging 11 points a game, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. And again, he would be a point-of-attack defender. And you pair him with Marcus Smart, whether they start together, whether you have one off the bench, whatever it ends up being, that is a seamless fit. You could have a starting lineup of Luka Doncic, Marcus Smart, or even Luka Doncic, Jrue Holiday, and then if you want to go really small, Marcus Smart, and then of course go from there with LeBron and DeAndre Ayton. Whether or not Rui Hachimura is involved in the trade for Jrue Holiday, we'll dive into in a minute. But regardless of that, it would be a scary defensive team. And then you're going from a team that is scary offensively right now and got a lot better defensively with Marcus Smart to a scary defensive team that also has the offensive upside of one of the greatest, I mean, the greatest player of all time, LeBron, and then one of the greatest offensive minds we've ever seen as well in Luka Doncic. And as you look at the starting lineup right now, we can probably safely assume it's Luka, Reaves, Rui, LeBron, and Ayton, with Marcus Smart and Jake LaRavia off the bench. And of course, Jackson Hayes, the backup five. I don't love in the starting lineup, and Hunter was on the video yesterday with me discussing how he wants Austin Reaves to start. I'm kind of more of the mindset of getting somebody else, pushing, of course, Rui out in a trade, and then having Luka Doncic, Smart, 3-and-D wing, LeBron, and Ayton, with Reaves off the bench, which would obviously maybe upset Reaves a little bit because he's coming off this breakout year, but would provide some offense to the bench, would provide some defense to the starting rotation, and I think overall makes some more sense. But at the end of the day, it's an interesting, it's an interesting conversation to have here. And this was a trade that has been brought up here. So you can see it is Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, Maxi Kleber, Shake Milton, and a 2031 first round pick. So this is basically just salary and a 2031 first for Drew and Chris Murray. I don't think, I just wanted to bring this up because this is one that's been floating around. I also think putting in Dalton Knecht here would make a lot of sense as well, throwing Dalton Knecht in the deal. And again, the problem is, I don't know if the Lakers, because there's a big issue with this trade, and the big issue is that Jrue Holiday makes a ton of money. Now, for a team like the Boston Celtics, who had to basically give him up, you could question why wouldn't the Lakers have just made a trade with the Celtics when they were trying to give him up for minimal assets. And of course, they basically just got Anthony Simons back, and there was also worries about his physical as well, because the original trade was the Portland Trailblazers trading Simons and a second round pick for, of course, Jrue Holiday. But then the physical came back with some errors, some sketchy things, so then ultimately got rid of the second round pick. The contract is a big issue, right? And does it matter for the Lakers? Can they afford it? They can if they make things work. Would giving up Dalton Knecht and a first for Jrue Holiday make a ton of sense? I don't know, but I think you do the same framework and maybe just include Dalton Knecht instead of a first, and see what they're talking about and things like that. But at the end of the day, like, the Celtics or the Lakers rather have $39 million in expiring deals, a 2031 first, a 2032 second, and a ton of pick swaps. So if you can get the deal done with Knecht and then maybe a first round pick swap, I think that could make a lot of sense as well. Of course, you had to make the salaries work, which you can. Of course, in this scenario, Shake Milton's there, who's no longer on the Lakers. He was waived, so you'd have to make up that $3 million in salary elsewhere. But I just wanted to bring this up for discussion purposes. I think at the end of the day, a trade surrounding Knecht could make sense. Now, if you're the Blazers, you just gave up Simons. He was on an expiring. If you get a controllable rookie like Dalton Knecht in exchange for basically Anthony Simons, that would have been the trade. It's an interesting proposition because then they get younger. They have another shooter around all the other guys there, Scoot Henderson and company. It could make for an interesting team. So let me know down below what your thoughts are on that. Moves are. I think more moves are coming here despite contrary belief. And at the end of the day, new reports are going to continue to drop, and we're going to keep you up to date every step of the way. So make sure to hit the subscribe button. You guys have an absolute beast. And let me know, do you want to see Jrue Holiday in a Lakers uniform? And if so, trade. What would you want the Lakers to give up in a trade?